The unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, we can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. So we just did the festival of the Avatamsaka Scripture, which is, we haven't done it for a couple of years, but it's so nice to do it. Avatamsaka Scripture is an enormous scripture of the Mahayana, huge in scope and in length. And if you start to read it, the first 50 pages are about who's there. So you can bounce off it, sort of think, okay, too much for me. But if you jump in, you find these jewels in there. But I'm not going to talk about the Avatamsaka Scripture today, actually. I'm going to talk about something else. In our ceremony, there's an invocation written by Reverend Master Daizui, Bukfilimi, who, as most of us know, was the head of our order after Reverend Master Jiyu. And he died some years later of cancer, which was very sad, but he left us this lovely invocation. And so I'm going to read it, because we may not have all grasped it as it went through, and some people listening to this talk later won't be able to find it, because I couldn't find it on the internet or on our website. This is it. There's one who waits beyond the dream of goals and fond ideals. Great Vairochana is his name. Great wisdom he reveals. There is a world beyond the dream of anger, greed, and fear. A world of quiet, simple things, of senses bright and clear. There is a love beyond the dream of lust to grab and hold. A gentle, soft, good-humoured wish all beings to enfold. There is a life beyond the dream of life and death. With naught to have, to want, to know, it fills me with each breath. There is a truth beyond the dream of truth and lie, a truth that's known and lived and loved by heart and tongue and eye. There is a mind beyond the dream of me and you, beneath the judgments of the self, a shining drop of dew. There is a real beyond the dream of sacred and profane, beyond the mirror of my mind, no form, no end, no stain. There is a dawn beyond the dream, beyond the sleep of years. I'll dream no more beyond the dream, when that which is appears. It's lovely, lovely. He said it just kind of came to him. He didn't think it up. It just came to him and he wrote it down. Anyway. So I'd like to talk about it a little bit, because this invocation points to that which is beyond our little self and our little concerns, our little mind, our little views, our opinions, our judgments, all the things we worry about. Our little dreaming self. These things beyond the dream of lust, of anger, of lie, The little dreaming self that thinks what it perceives is what's real, the only reality. What I see is what I get, Not really, we misperceive, we don't see things, we have all kinds of blind spots and deluded opinions about things. And to wake up from the dream, we would see more clearly and let go of our little selfish, self-centered, self-partiality, our little view from me, my point of view, which we all have. Of course we do, otherwise we couldn't function. But if you can kind of see through that, or just not take it quite so seriously, it helps a lot. Because we get so caught up in our little view, and then sometimes something will shake us out of it, and we'll wake up for a minute, whether it's some experience of awakening, or something that happens. Sometimes we have some tragedy befalls us, somebody dies, or we have some, mortal illness, or something. Some major thing happens, and we might see beyond our little view even in the midst of tragedy and fear, to see something that's more lasting, the great matter. And when we meditate and train ourselves, we get a sense of what this invocation is pointing to. It's pointing to that which is beyond me and my little self. So, I'm going to take it apart a little bit. Each of these verses actually could be a whole talk on its own, but I'm going to just go through. The one who waits beyond the dream of goals and fond ideals. Goals and ideals? What's wrong with goals and ideals? But actually, they can kind of narrow us down. You have a goal or something you want to do, and you can blind yourself to a lot of other things, or be selfish. I've got to have this, I've got to do this. Ideals, ideals are not all they're cracked up to be. To have some ideal of what we'd like to be, some ideal of how other people should be, some ideal of how my life should be. And it's almost never that way. We never live the ideal life. We might aspire to something good, and that's great. But if we kind of berate ourselves for not living up to that, we suffer. Because we're only human, we do our best, we try our best to live well, to do our best to live beyond the anger, greed and fear. And yet they do grab us. So that there's something beyond all that that is kind and not judging. Deep, soft, gentle compassion, like the gentle, soft, good-humoured wish. It's really lovely. Great Vairochana is not a personal God. Some people think of, it's really Buddha nature, that which pervades everything, of which we're all a part, Vairochana. Some people find it helpful to sort of think of it as a being, and he's therefore represented as a great being. And in this, the Avatamsaka scripture, Vairochana plays a major part, which is why we have this invocation in this ceremony. Great wisdom he reveals is the deep wisdom of the heart that we aspire to, that we wish to live by. And it's not our own personal wisdom, I have this great wisdom. It's just something that may come through us. Like Reverend Master Daizui writing his invocation. Great wisdom just came through. But it's not his personal wisdom. Great wisdom Vairochana reveals, but it's not mine or anybody's in particular. We just have access to it when we're still and we're not completely motivated by me and what I want and my ideals. Noble as they may be. The noble is sometimes the worst, but there we go. There is a world beyond the dream of anger, greed and fear. We're so driven by anger, greed and fear. When we look closely, it sounds, oh my goodness, surely not. But actually, when we think, there's ill will, irritation, dislike, desire for something, not wanting something else, which is the same thing really. Fear of, anxiety. Everybody has fear. We all have anger, greed and fear. Greed, hate and delusion. Fear is delusion really. But we all have it. We're all prone to it. So there's something beyond this, a world of contentment, a world of quiet, simple things, of senses bright and clear. Contentment with what we have, not striving to get, to grab and want more of everything. There is a love beyond the dream of lust to grab and hold, not just sexual grabbing, but any kind of grabbing. I want that car, I want that house, I want that, this, that, and the other, that job, It's the same thing, really, to grab and hold something, grasping at something. And then this gentle, soft, good-humoured wish, all beings to unfold, not grabbing on one person and pushing away another, but actually having a kind of universal goodwill towards all beings. We don't have to personally love every single person who comes our way. It'd be hard to do that, actually. But we can practice goodwill. If we feel ill will or irritation, it can arise, not to act on that, to see it and to think, look at that. Getting irritated, let's be careful, rather than just fall into it. but that soft, gentle, soft, good-humored wish to enfold all beings, to actually see the best in beings, to see the best in everybody, because we all have that goodness within us. All beings are part of Buddha nature. None of us is separate, cut off, or outside it, unworthy. All beings are part of that. This is why, by the way, Samantabhadra, the Bodhisattva of universal goodness, he's part of the Avatamsaka Scripture. He plays a major role. There he is on his huge elephant. He's very, very big. And it's said that Samantabhadra pervades everything, pervades all things, all beings. Every cell of our body is composed of universal goodness. How about that for a thought? And it's much bigger and stronger than our greed, hate, and delusion, although the greed, hate, and delusion seem so much more obvious. But that underlying goodness is there. And when we meditate and train ourselves and practice the precepts and try to not be, too self-centered, then it starts to manifest more. And we have more access to that. And we can see a bit more, there is some goodness there, Our self-judgment can be rather an obstruction. We'll get to that in a minute. There is a life beyond the dream of life and death, with the naught to have, to want, to know. It fills me with each breath. There's a Christian mystic who says to have nothing, want nothing, and know nothing. I couldn't find him. Google knew nothing about him. I couldn't find a person, but I'm sure that's there, because it's been quoted many times. Sorry?
St. John of the Cross.
No? Tell me. Who? Meister Eckhart.
Yeah.
Thank you. Meister Eckhart said, because to have nothing, want nothing, and know nothing, we spend so much time having stuff, dealing with our stuff, taking care of our stuff, wanting more stuff, different stuff, other stuff, or not wanting stuff that we have and wanting other stuff we didn't earn, just endless, bottomless. To know nothing, how much time do we spend cruising on the internet, looking up everything, the life cycle of the flea, or, the stuff that we get sucked into. There you are, looking at the news, oh, look at this, oh, look at that, and you can get, sucked in. I think some of us are getting a bit more savvy to this now, and not doing quite so much, but there's the endless wish to know, endless longing to know. I have to know. I have to know what's going on. I need to know the news. I need to know what's happening. I need to know what's happening in our world. And to a point it's good, because then we can see, we can sympathize, we can offer merit to, people who don't have enough, people who are starving, people who are suffering from climate change or wars or all the awful things that happen in our world. We can offer merit and sympathize. We don't want to just cut ourselves off. But we don't have to know everything about everything. Just knowledge for the sake of itself. It's kind of like a drug. You want more. Well, can you imagine? With not having nothing, wanting nothing, and knowing nothing. It doesn't mean you're ignorant and you're just oblivious. It means you're not grasping onto kind of knowledge. You're not grasping onto things, stuff, being a me, Just letting go of all of that. Something. Meister Eckhart. Good for him. Anyway. Yeah, she said it many times. Oh yes, many times she said it. Yes. And the life beyond the dream, it fills me with each breath. Every time I breathe in, I'm breathing in that life. Do we think of it most of the time? No. But this is the time, when you're up against it or there's a problem, whatever, we keep saying, just take a breath. It fills me with each breath. You can just, this universal goodness of that life filling me with each breath, whether I know it or not. You just keep breathing. We have to do it, It fills me with that life with a capital L. There is a truth beyond the dream of truth and lie, a truth that's known and lived and loved by heart and tongue and eye. To try to live as truly as we can, to be straightforward, What you see is what you get. We're not having some hidden agenda. We're not trying to delude anybody. We're not trying to pretend we're better than we are or worse than we are. People do either. Just to live straightforwardly. Just to be, straightforward, simple. Live a simple life. Not always so easy. To know and live and love that truth. To love truth. Which means to do our best to live by it. And not to fudge it or bend it or not look. Part of it is looking and seeing what's there. What's going on in my mind? Ooh, I'm not, I'm getting upset. Oh, that was a really selfish thing to do. To see it. That's part of it. Truth. To see what's there. There is a mind beyond the dream of me and you, in quotes. Beneath the judgments of the self, a shining drop of dew. I'm always talking about the judgments of the self because judgment is such a major part of our life, actually. We judge ourselves, we judge other people, we worry about them judging us. The judgments of the self. It's a self that's judging or feeling judged. Because when you think about it, we make all kinds of judgments about other people, and often we find we've been completely wrong. So, if we feel that somebody else is judging us, maybe we don't have to take it quite so seriously. We might consider, somebody says something seemingly unkind, we might think, well, is there truth in that? Looking with truth. Is it true? Am I really that much of a pain? Am I really that selfish, or do I go on and on and on about such and such? Maybe I do. And maybe to be grateful for the things we don't really want, these judgments we don't really like, but we can take them to the good. And our judgments of other people, to see, oh, look at that, I don't even know this person, and I'm already judging them by what they're wearing or what they're saying, or, how do we know? Because so often we find we've been completely wrong about somebody, usually in a critical way, and then we find actually there's a really good reason why the person is the way they are, or they're actually a really nice person, and we had no idea. And the judgments of ourselves, which is the hardest, judging ourselves for not living up to those fond ideals. I want to be a great, wonderful person. I want to be the best person. I want to be a best monk. I want to be wise. I want to be kind. I want to be enlightened. I want to be so good. I want to help beings. And all we can do is just do the best we can and not worry so much. Not worry so much about what we think of ourselves, but to see it. It's just a judgment. It's not the reality. What do I know? We tend not to see our good intentions and our pure aspirations and our trying to do our best. We tend to see where we make a mistake. We make a mistake and we can rake ourselves over hot coals about it for days. And then something good we did, goes right by us. Maybe it's better that way than the other, but it's not seeing clearly. It's not seeing with truth. They all go together, these things. A shining drop of dew beneath those judgments of the self. A shining drop of dew. This is a very often used analogy for our human body, our human life. Dew is so fleeting, just gone in an hour. The life is like a dewdrop. We are like a drop of dew. And we're not separate. We're all part of that shining sea. The dewdrop slips into the shining sea, as is put in the Light of Asia. We're just in no way separate. Even when we feel just like a little dewdrop, we're still really part of that shining sea. And just to know that we're not separate in any way from all the other drops of dew, or from the great shining sea of Buddha nature. We're completely a part of it. But at the moment we feel like a shining drop of dew, not a dark, muddy drop of dew. Who's ever saw a muddy drop of dew? A shining drop of dew, pure, transparent, clear. This is what we aspire to, but we can't hold ourselves up to some ideal of I should be like this, because we're human beings and we have this awkward body and this life full of stuff and all the things we have. It all works together. There is a real beyond the dream, a sacred and profane. Beyond the mirror of my mind, no form, no end, no stain. the dream of sacred and profane, the judgment, the duality. This is clean, this is pure, this is good, that's grotty and grubby and horrible. I want nothing to do with it. You know, seeing things so often in those ways. This is the good stuff, that's the bad stuff. These are the good people, they're the bad people. These are the wise people, they're the not so smart people. These are the ones who really know, these guys are deluded. So often we think in those ways, but actually sacred and profane is just one of the dualities. But thinking, oh yes, if I can just live it as a sacred life and have everything just be, you know, everything golden and lovely and clean and pure, oh, how wonderful. But then, you know, there's dog poo on the floor or whatever, you know. It all goes together. Actually, there's nothing impure about dog poo. We want to be careful when we deal with it, but it's not evil. It is full of Buddha nature. It's also completely composed of universal goodness, that poo of the dog, or whatever it might be that we have to deal with. It's just washable. Beyond the mirror of my mind, the mirror of my mind that sees these things in terms of good and bad, clean and impure, and so forth, you know. There's no form, no end, no stain, no limitation. Everything can be embraced. Everything can be accepted. Nothing is unworthy. Nothing is too dirty and horrible to be accepted. Because it's here. If it's here, we have to accept it. You know, we try and look away. Someone's got to clean up the poo. You know, I don't do it. Well, who's going to do it? You know, there's nothing unworthy of us, and we are not unworthy of anything. It's all part of the whole thing, nothing separate. And that's the thing about this whole thing, nothing separate, everything works together. There is a dawn beyond the dream, beyond the sleep of years. I'll dream no more beyond the dream when that which is appears. To awaken, to wake up and see truly, whether it's when we die or whether it's before that, to see clearly. It's often said that our life is like a dream because we are not awake. You know, it's as though it's like when you wake up in the morning and you've had this dream and you completely end it and suddenly the alarm clock goes off and, oh, right. And that dream just completely evaporates. Or if it's a very powerful dream, it might stay with us for a while. But it was a dream, it's not the reality. Here we are crawling out of bed and that's what's, you know, a more reality. However, the deeper reality that we wish to awaken to, you know, we don't know that yet. And yet we can trust that it's there. To remember that there's another way of looking at things beyond our little mind and our little view and our little greed, angers and delusions and so forth. There's something beyond the dream. Even if we don't see it, we can trust that it's there. There's something deeper than what I see, something beyond my little mind and my little life. And to have faith in that, the life of faith and that greater thing, the great matter, universal goodness, Vairochana Buddha, Buddha nature, whatever you want to, however you like to think of it. I like universal goodness. I really find it helpful to think. Everything has universal goodness, no matter what it looks like, even things that do great harm, people who do terrible things. There's universal goodness in all of us, in all of them. They're not different, not separate. Can I embrace them? It can be really hard if you've had a lot of suffering. And yet it's not impossible. It is to trust that there is the possibility. There's more than we know. There's more than we see. There always will be more than we see. We'll never get to the end of it. The Dharma is vast. You look at the Avatamsaka, that huge thing, and you know, all the beings and all the things they talk about is so more than a human mind can encompass. Nobody knows who wrote that. Might have been a whole bunch of different people, who knows. But there it is, showing that huge view, the huge view of all things embraced within Buddha nature. Nothing separate, nothing too small, nothing unworthy, nothing left out. And that includes us. I'll dream no more beyond the dream when that which is appears. We ourselves wish for this. And that's our talk for the day. Thank you for being here. Please take care.